What's good? What's good? Alright, let me get that Mikey dread off first. Alright, had to turn off the Mikey dread just so you guys could hear my voice more. Okay, today I'm gonna talk about what I think is probably the biggest blue ocean that exists right now, that I don't know if many people realized it, but or maybe they did. Like this is my, what, I've been studying computer science for about like a year and a half now. It's been about a year and a half. And yeah, this is, I guess, what I've come up with so far. But it seems like data is the biggest blue ocean that exists right now. And people don't realize it yet. Either that or they're just too concerned with, like, not with just making things to collect data and sell it, rather than just letting the people sell their own data. And that's what I'm kind of gonna be getting at here. So let me just go over this chart real quick, and then I'll tell you about my ideas behind it. So basically, you have people, consumers, and users. Whatever you want to, citizens, I could have put citizens on there too. Whatever you really want to call it, whatever you want to call them, they're all the same people, right? This is just different categories you can put them in, but they're all the same people. People is probably the best word to say. But all of those people, including myself, right, generate data. And there's I don't even know how many bytes of data is generated each day. Actually digital data now. Because technically you could be saying people have been generating data since the beginning of time. But now we just call it data. And we categorize it as data. And one thing I've learned is just when humans categorize something, all of a sudden it becomes an entity on its own. It becomes an entity on its own, and it can incorporate basically a bunch of things that already existed. But now that you encapsulate it in one, in a word or a concept, then all of a sudden you just do new things with that word or a concept, and you can build new stuff on that. So that's what makes, I guess, things interesting over time. That's why people build stuff over time and recombine things. So data is generated, a bunch of data, and that data is then basically, it's funneled into corporations, governments, small businesses, and other organizations. But the main ones I kind of thought about were corporations, governments, and small businesses. They take that data, analyze the data, and process it, and then they build or make new products, services, laws, policies, and social programs, and things like that. Here, you can see that. And you can pause the video if you want to get a better view of that. But that's just an overview. It's that's almost the obvious part, to be honest. This, people generate data, which is used by corporations, businesses, and governments to create new stuff, products, services, laws, policies, and social programs. So that's kind of the flow of happenings, I guess you could say. the flow of data, I guess you could say. And that, so now the current model is to basically find weird ways to get that data pretty much. Maybe like you create a service like YouTube or, I don't know, Facebook that aggregates the data. Like through users input data, and then it's aggregated on the back end and like analyzed on the back end and then sold on the back end pretty much. Or like a government might run a census where they aggregate, like they ask the users questions, so they collect it through the census, they collect all the data through the census, and then from that data they make different laws and different policies. I don't know about laws because I'm not in that world, but I know they make different policies and social programs, and maybe they could even make services probably based on that data that they collect. And then small businesses do the same, but like as like what corporations do, but not on a scale that's as big. And usually their data collection is more, it's like less technical. It's more like it's more upfront, usually like with a small business, and like you kind of know what they're doing more. But yeah, so my idea is, rather than having all of these weird ways of collecting the data, you could just upfront ask the person for the data. Like you could like basically buy it so the person can sell the data, because so much is being generated. And like I know the goal is money. The goal is basically money for a lot of it, or at least that's what my friends tell me. Like, because my goal hasn't really been money, but then maybe like there's other reasons for that. But as my friends tell me, like it's, all about money and stuff like that. So I mean, if it really is about money, then I don't see why the average person can't just make money off of their own data. So I see no reason why the average person can't just sell what's been collected from them for free for a while. So I mean, they use a service or something like that, and I guess you can use a service like YouTube or a service like Facebook to connect to your friends, a service like YouTube to connect to, like, I don't know, people that post videos around the world and stuff like that. And that's good. But what if you could have that service, and then you could just like localize all your data. So like you could have people that put data on the network or the service or whatever it is, and they can, like, you have the people that put data on the network, but then all the people that basically interact with it, and that data, that metadata is collected. So like, for example, like if you click on a YouTube video, they get your IP address. If you post comments, that's also data. Like when you clicked on it, the time, what kind of video it was, like the type of video, all that stuff is kind of aggregated. And I'll show like in probably another video, like I'll like take you into my screen like I did in the past couple of videos, and I'll show you basically like all the data that's collected that you can actually download from YouTube if you want. So all that data is collected and then all that data is basically sold to advertising companies and the government, and who knows who else, to be honest. But my kind of idea is, rather than it all being sold on the back end, why can't you just have a marketplace where those advertisers and the government can just, on the front end, like directly buy it from the consumer, like rather than buy it from the company, which is like kind of like a middleman technically. You could just buy it directly from the consumer, like all the aggregated data. You can just have a marketplace where an advertiser can say, hey, like this is kind of the data I want, and then they can buy that data from people who say, hey, I want to sell my data to get, I don't know how much money it would be. I guess it would just depend on like how bad the advertising companies and analytics companies and government want the data. But like they say, I've heard the term data is the new oil. I've heard that term a bunch of times, and I don't even know why, to be honest. Like, but it is what it is. And I mean, these companies are like trillion-dollar companies now almost. I think Apple is. I don't know about like Alphabet, but basically, or Facebook. But these companies, like, they're making a lot of money off of just like advertising stuff to people. And that's crazy. I mean, that really means that's what the economy is being like driven by largely, is like advertising stuff to people. I guess that's just the efficiency of our economy, to where like we can make food pretty easy, and we can even like we can do a lot of other things pretty easy. So now like people are just advertised stuff. But it is what it is. Yeah, I came to that conclusion in farm school. So like, I mean, it is what it is. So yeah, that's kind of like my idea. And I'll flesh it out more because it's kind of in the early stages, and I want like a team to help me. And no school's open, so I can't. Like, I'm pitching this like to YouTube, but I'd love to pitch it to like some computer science people, so I could actually build the thing. I don't think it'd be too hard to build, to be honest. And I just like, I want to incorporate some blockchain in it, just because like that stuff interests me. I don't even know if blockchain is necessary though, but it'd make it interesting. So yeah, and I think that's just a blue ocean, because data hasn't even been seen as important until recently, and I can get into that in another video later. But this one's probably pretty long now. Hopefully that made a little bit of sense. I'll flesh it out more in the future, but like that's what it is right now. Alright, I'll catch you guys later. Some people watched my last video, so I'll say you guys. Yeah. Catch you guys later. Hopefully you enjoy it, and peace out. Oh yeah, and then the person that commented on my last video, I am in like because I said no more MGTOW. Yeah, you're right. I am in one of the most liberal places on the planet. I get it. Actually, that's pretty interesting to me, but I get it, and I still want to do the stuff that I'm doing. So we'll just see if it works or not. And because it's just interesting to me, so screw it. Like, we'll see if it works or not. And then if it works in like 6 years, hopefully I can be like, hey, I told you so. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Alright, peace out.